What's up, legends? Helldivers 2 yesterday introduced the craziest and most difficult side mission ever implemented into the game, the Factory Strider Convoy. These convoys have literally 5 different Factory Striders, 4 of which are regular Factory Striders with turrets on top and miniguns below, and one of them that sits in the middle of the pack is a Jammer Factory Strider that will mess up your Stratagem codes if you get anywhere near them. I've experimented dozens of different ways to take on these convoys, and today I've compiled for you the best tips I've come across my experiments, as well as talking about all of the different methods to effectively deal with these convoys. First, we'll go over a couple of tips and we'll finish it off with ranking from the worst to the best ways to deal with this insane side objective. So let's jump right in. For tip number 1, as soon as I heard of these convoys, I just know a lot of people thought to themselves the best way to handle these is probably by just dumping a shitload of barrages or eagle stratagems in general to nuke the hell out of the Factory Striders. But after some extensive testing, I can confidently tell you guys this is not the way, legends. Later on in this video, we'll compare all of the different methods, but essentially, you want to keep your distance from these convoys. You do not want to go anywhere near them. Like, sure, you can kill them that way. Matter of fact, you can kill them in like dozens of different ways, but it's just not effective. On top of that, of course, you'll likely die several times trying to pull off these other less effective methods, and you'll also trigger their spawn mechanics, bring in tons of unnecessary devastators into the battlefield. So for tip number 1, keep your distance, boys. Keep your distance. So for tip number 2, if you do find yourself in a situation where all you've got for them is red stratagems, I'd recommend standing in front of the pack. Use a medium penetrating weapon to get rid of the miniguns, and ideally find a way to get rid of the turret on top as well, and then you can get to dumping the stratagems. The Factory Striders in the back will likely fire at each other's back as they try to target you, and if you're lucky, they're actually going to kill each other as you do so. If you stay well positioned ahead of the pack leader, as you see here in the gameplay, you'll be in their blind spot and be nearly completely safe. For the third tip, it's worth noting you've got to be somewhat quick at doing this side objective. The convoy takes about more or less 12 minutes to reach its final destination, meaning at the 28-minute mark, they'll reach the end, or at least be damn near it. I tried delaying the convoy with anti-tank mines and other stratagems to see if that would delay them a little bit, but that didn't really seem to play much of a role. They still reached the end at around the same exact time, despite trying it on different maps. So unless my experiments were extremely coincidental, it's worth noting they take around that length. For the fourth tip, this is extremely important regardless of your method of choice, and that is make sure you destroy their turrets. This is an absolute necessity if you're taking these convoys from a distance, because if you get rid of their turrets, that means their only method of dealing with you is completely eliminated. So make sure you prioritize those turrets and distance yourself as much as you possibly can. And for the last tip, before we get into the best ways to deal with them, is find high ground and cover. This may be an obvious tip, but it is extremely important. High ground and cover will give you the protection and the angle to take out the entire convoy without ever being in danger. Sure, if you are using a method that does not allow you to shoot from a distance, that's a different story, but you still want to keep these things in mind to better land those stratagems. Now let's go ahead and get to the rankings for the best ways to deal with them. So of course I didn't experiment with clearly terrible methods of dealing with them, like trying to kill them with autocannons or AMRs or something like that. I only tested things that had a true potential or that I saw users mentioning it around Discord or Reddit or in video comments. So it's worth noting that you could technically kill an entire convoy with anything, like even like the Senator revolver, but yeah, good luck with that. Another criteria for this experiment is that I did not quite mix and match stratagems except for a few exceptions. I mostly only tested out a certain method on its own, as there would be far too many experiments if I mixed and matched different stratagems. So generally what I did was I mostly tested them out on their own. Anyways, now getting to the ranking, the worst method I've tested is the Mortar Sentry. I read this in the comment section of my last video, and sadly this is a terrible way to deal with convoys. Matter of fact, it's a terrible way to deal with Factory Striders in general. Or anything for that matter. You'd be lucky to even kill a single factory strider with multiple mortars, so make sure you skip this. Next up, what was also pretty terrible as well is the Exosuit. These convoys for some reason seem to have far more awareness than regular factory striders do. I mean, they see you from absolutely miles away. I don't know if you guys have noticed that. And it's nearly impossible for you to creep up on them. And on top of that, they have fantastic aim with their turrets. And well, you're also a pretty big target being in the mech, so even if they miss all of their shots, which they won't, the 14 rockets on the Patriot Exosuit wouldn't really do the trick. And well, the autocannon version wouldn't even come close either, so don't waste your mechs on trying to get rid of convoys. I also tested out a Sentry Spam. More specifically, I threw the Rocket Sentry and the autocannon Sentry, and they could take out like a solid factory strider or so. But the problem is, like I said, these striders have insane aim and awareness. And as they kind of get close to the turrets, they'll also spawn devastators. So yeah, it's not really that great. Next is the Orbital Laser. So the Orbital Laser can definitely kill one. It's like guaranteed. And if you're lucky, it will destroy the turret of the second one. And if you're mixing it up with other stratagems, it can even somehow finish off the second one. So it's pretty good, just like not on its own. Next, I tested the 380mm Barrage. I thought this would be great, but it's rather underwhelming. It's extremely luck dependent. You might have a few 380mm land perfectly, or you might have pretty much all of it miss. But I found that it missed way too much for it to be useful. Don't get me wrong, we're already getting into the realm of these methods being somewhat decent. It's just like not super good, you know? But then I tested out the walk-in barrage and that was a bit better. You can also kind of generally throw that from a safer range. You just need to be ahead of the pack and make sure you land the barrage slightly ahead of the pack leader and it will kind of make its way through the pack. But much like the 380, it's really RNG dependent and just not really a reliable source of soloing these convoys. Then comes the funniest method to dealing with them, the Hellbomb Backpack. You can get a solid double to triple kill depending how close you manage to get to them, and it's a really solid method to guarantee up to 3 kills. But this is definitely something that would require another teammate to bring in another Hellbomb Backpack, and each one of you takes on about half the convoy. I would seriously love to see that clip. But yeah, then comes something I truly expected to be a lot better, the anti-tank mines. I thought these would absolutely wreck these convoys, but it just kind of doesn't. I mean, if you're trying to solo the convoys with these anti-tank mines, you'll literally need to use like 5 to 6 anti-tank mines to maybe successfully pull it off. But the issue is they walk in a straight line. Meaning the first strider, the pack leader, will step on like 2 or 3 mines, and now every other strider that comes behind it will be safe from these mines. So then you kind of have to move way ahead again, wait 2 minutes, then throw another anti-tank mine just for the same thing to happen. The pack leader steps on 2 to 3 mines and the rest of them are safe again. So yeah, it's a bit underwhelming, but it's super safe to use, so that is an advantage. You can see their path on the map, and if you have other teammates with anti-tank mines, you can kind of just flood their path with anti-tank mines for an easy side objective. For soloing, it's not really as great as I thought it would be. Next up is a bit of an exception. I brought like 3 different barrages, strafing runs, ultimatum, and thermites, and just wanted to face them dead on. I feel this method is what I would assume a lot of players would consider to be the best way to handle them, so I gave it a go. Now, you can pull it off somewhat easily, I mean, if you're willing to risk a couple of lives, and you can nuke the shit out of them this way at the cost of like a death or 2, so yeah, it's pretty good. It's still not ideal. You'll spawn tons of devastators, you'll likely attract bot drops and die a few times, but yeah, it's definitely doable. But now we're walking into the A to S tier territory for dealing with these convoys. These following methods handle them with ease. First is the EAT plus Commando combo, a combination that has been often used by players on the automaton front. It's very effective here against this convoy as well. You'll likely want to find a good angle and hang around for like 3 minutes or so as you constantly call down commandos and EATs to prepare for battle. Once they do come into sight, you start nuking the shit out of them. Commandos are a great way for one-shotting the turrets, and after you're through with the turrets, just unleash hell on their faces. A couple of EATs and Commandos will do the trick just fine. This is a really fun method too. Next is the spear method. I'm kind of torn apart between this one and the next one. I'm not exactly sure which one I consider best, so let's just call it a tie. For the spear, you have to do no aiming. Just lock onto them as they're miles away and just unleash hell on them. You'll want to have at least 2 resupplies by you though, as you continually nuke them from far away. This method is awesome because it requires no aiming and you're generally completely safe. But the second best method, again, I think it's a tie with the spear method, is of course with the Recoilless Rifle. It'll be the same concept as the spear, but the advantage is you only need 1 resupply and you will kill them quicker. But the disadvantage is that you actually have to aim your shot. So yeah, pick your poison. The Recoilless Rifle though does kill these striders quicker, like I said, and you can be out of there in just a couple of seconds. Just make sure you have that high ground and cover that we've mentioned so many times. By the way, before I get to the last one, I'd like to point out that I did not test the Quasar. I think it would take far too long to kill 5 striders with the Quasar, and I don't really think it would be anywhere near as good as these other choices. But now, for the best method available, the godly anti-tank emplacement. I have been glazing over this stratagem for automatons for the last month or so. You probably know this if you watch my videos, but yeah, here it shines even further. The only downside of this method is you'll likely need 2 anti-tank emplacements as there are far too many factory striders. However, the anti-tank emplacements can one-shot turrets from miles away before they're even a threat, and it can kill the factory striders in only 4 to 5 shots to the face. It's by far the strongest way to kill these convoys without even breaking a sweat. I mean, just look at the gameplay in the background. I don't even need to move, of course. Literally destroying this convoy without even risking my life. And as I'm doing this, what I'm doing is, of course, paying attention to sound to make sure no bots are creeping up on me, and I'm good to go. All you need for this is high ground, and that's it. You don't even need cover for this method. And with that concludes my testing and this video. I hope you guys learned something new. I appreciate all of you legends being here. Let's get ready for tomorrow's Warbond, and I'll be catching you guys tomorrow. Peace!